Hey guys, and welcome to arguably my greatest achievement in my Total War Warhammer career. I'm a rubber ducker war, but I'm playing under the guise today of the Blind Bandit up against Charax of Clan RTK, a very talented opponent, and it shall be the dreaded High Elves versus Lizardmen matchup. Now, what do I mean by my greatest ever achievement? Do I mean I won this game? Well, not necessarily. What I mean is I have designed the greatest Lizardmen build ever to exist in history. That's right, we've snuck in Nakai, Lord Kroak, and a Shredder of Lustria all into a tournament game, and it's not the most uncompetitive build in this matchup, surprisingly, though I'm not saying it is the best way to go. It certainly is good fun. So to understand our build, we're first going to look at our opponents. What is now done, like almost 9 times out of 10 from the forces of the High Elves up against Lizardmen is Chariot and single entity spam in this matchup. It's so good. Chariots are devastating to Lizardmen as a whole because you have 3 line chariots. They will kill an infinite amount of infantry if supported by healing. And of course you have Alara the Radiant up in the skies, coming with Tempest to kill any of your Pterodons, Shield of Thorns and Earthblood to heal up those chariots and single entities. Now often you see this paired with a Frostheart Phoenix to give that aura of a negative melee attack to kind of, if you try to box against the chariots, they just nuke your stats and allow the chariots to shine. But our opponent has gone for a bit of a his own take on this style of build, and he actually has double Arcane Phoenix. Not shabby whatsoever, even more anti-infantry killing power. Plus you then have 3 single entities to goon out the little bit slower and ground forces of the Dino Boys themselves. We have double Spearmen. Sometimes people go for White Lions, but instead we've got Spearmen to also allow room for Shadow Warriors. These guys will be able to kite back whilst the Chariots dish out the pain. There is simply no need to engage your Spearmen to the absolute last moments. A really fun build by Charax. I knew coming up against him, this is what I was going to face most likely, was the Chariot spam build. It's very popular in the current meta, or full kite, because Charax is a very good Waywatcher player, very good Shadow Warrior player, so it's kind of cool to see a hybrid build on this left, but very competitive stuff. You see it quite a bit. So what have we brought? Well, stuff you don't get to see terribly often, but in the front we have red-crested skinks mixed in with some Saurus warriors. We've also got skink cohorts in the back as well, so relatively light on the infantry, just a load of skinks and Saurus. We get to the juicy stuff here in the middle. We do, of course, have our boy, the Shredder of Lustria. Let's give him a little neck scratch. Now, if he can survive, he can do devastating damage to cavalry as well as chariots. He hits like an absolute truck. Just look at those stats. 750 weapon strength. More importantly, the area of effect around him is going to give a little bit of a dishearten to our enemy. You can see there the dreaded aversion. But likewise, he can also encourage our troops, which is quite nice. To assist him, we have a Bastardon with a Rev Crystal. If you're bringing a Dread Sauron without healing, you're probably a mad lad. So we brought the Rev Crystal here because I did not want to bring a Law of Life Slan, and he's simply going to be main job to heal up the Shredder of Lustria. Leading up our line, we do have Nakai the Wanderer. Now, Nakai isn't particularly great because he costs so much money, but there's a few instances where he is decent, and that is actually in Lizardmen box builds. He hits relatively hard, and he comes in with the Miasma of Despair, fantastic to lower the speed of chariots, as well as their leadership and vigor. He gives perfect vigor to his homies, but more importantly, he comes in with Primeval Roar. Given physical resistance, but plus 40 melee attack. That means your Shredder is almost always going to hit a chariot and then be able to crump it because he hits so hard, he kills chariots with each snap of his jaws. Now, making up the end of this build is Lord Kroak, which might seem a bit of a strange choice when you know your opponent is most likely going to try to use single entities as well as line chariots to defeat you because his spells aren't great against them. Well, he brings the Supreme Shield of the Old Ones for that 40% damage resistance when the big fight does happen, but more importantly, you counteract the Frostheart Phoenix aura of lowering your melee attack by bringing the Golden Death Mask, an item almost no one brings, because you don't want Lord Kroak in the front lines fighting. It's not what he's designed for. But in a blob style of approach, and knowing a load of chariots and single entities are going to come after us, this is amazing. Lowering all of their melee attack by 10. Lord Kroak is winking at Marathi saying, eat your heart out, I can debuff the enemy as well. So without further ado, let's get this battle underway. I was very proud of this build. It is still very memey. The best way to counteract a build like this, just go mass cav. If you bring like 5 cavalry units, there's basically nothing this type build can do. You run over the Shadow Warriors, you pin in the cavalry, and there's only a couple of spear units. So the best way to actually do this matchup, if you guys are looking for that good tournament play, I would recommend going mass cavalry. But if you want to bring the full, swaggiest, greatest, sexiest build you will ever witness, Go something like this. Bring the Shredder, Rev Crystals, Nakai, Kroak. It's full out and out Chadness. Now, the Shadow Warriors are going to be raining shots down on the Shredder. We're actually managing to juke some of the shots surprisingly and counter-skirmishing with our big guns on the back of the Shredder. Relatively decent counter-skirmish too, actually, because of those guns, but he's taken a ton of damage. Still 9,000 hit points to get through yet, and we're going to be healing up with the Rev Crystal at every given opportunity. So here we go. It is going to be healing him up quite nicely, and it's going to heal him at 624 hit points. Despite this, he's still taking a bit of a pounding as my opponent does decide to kite back, not engage with the chariots just yet. See how much damage he can do first and foremost to the Shredder of Lustria, then try to snipe it with those single entities, realizing it is such a big threat to his chariots on the whole. A little bit counter-skirmish still going in. We've actually managed to kill a couple of the Shadow Warrior units, which is really useful for us, or models I should say, rather than units. Doing some nice damage down to 53 models, but likewise we have taken a bucket ton of pressure. We're still kiting up and down, just trying to miss as many arrows as possible, knowing it could be pivotal in the late game on how much HP we have, though a nasty volley goes into our flank there, down to 8,000 HP, which is pretty nasty, but we have plenty of room here to heal more. Still can heal another 7,800 HP, so I'm not too worried at the moment. A little more shots are raining in. We're continuing just to slowly approach, kite back and forth, and maneuver our army up and around my opponent, trying to get to grips with him. We can't really catch him, unfortunately, if he doesn't want to be engaged, because the spearmen just pull back, and the Shadow Warriors continue to rain down shots on us. We can rotate round and just start to get nice and aggressive, moving towards him. Still poking him down with the dreaded Saurian here. We was going to pop a Supreme Shield of the Old Ones just in time to catch that volley. I was kind of guessing at this point that, hey, by the time the battle actually gets underway, because I'm just absorbing damage right now, I'm probably going to get another Supreme Shield of the Old Ones ready to go anyway, so you might as well protect him from a few of those nasty volleys. And looks like my opponent does decide to switch targets now onto the red-crested Skinkies. Only 30 are on these bad boys, so you might as well hit them while you can. Bit of a stalemate right now, as we're going to start slow pushing my enemy once more, just continue to rotate round. We've come all the way from here, and just very slumberously moving up and around, whilst taking a bucket ton of damage. So another Rev Crystal does get popped off, that is the second one today, onto the Shredder. But good news for us is the Shadow Warriors have used up the majority of their ammunition. Now they've probably got some great damage value already, yeah, 1.2k and 1.1 again, though the battle's only really just kind of not even got underway fully, at least not the main engagements. But we're going to continue to push, continue to take that damage. You can see a load of arrows whizzing by the Shredder's tail there, as he does juke with the delicate dance moves of a ballerina there, which I would often expect the Shredder to do. Unfortunately, this volley looks like a load of volleys are going to hit him, and he is down to about half HP at the moment, which is a little bit scary stuff, because here's our main counter to these Lion Chariots, and we're just going to keep slow pushing my opponent, although it looks like he wants to fight now. He realizes he's nearly out of ammunition. Shredder's quite weak. We're only going to heal it up from this point onwards, so he needs to get in and engage where possible, and in come the Lion Chariots, swarming the front line, taking basically no damage, but then in comes the Shredder with some big hits. The Lion Chariots shall feel the wrath of the Shredder of Lustria, doing some massive damage. Now, Star of Avalon does go down to try to heal these guys up, and we're going to instantly counter-punch that with the Miasma of Despair, as well as Primeval Roar. 104 melee attack on the Shredder. He is devouring those chariots, which are both breaking and running for their lives before the might of the Shredder and the Kai. We do a big old pizza delivery from Lord Kroak, which does catch a few spearmen, not too much. Lovely usage here of the Arcane Phoenixes going down on my infantry, though we managed to pull out away from the worst of it. Now, the Shredder's quite low on HP, as that big attack did come in. We're going to catch him with yet another Rev Crystal, trying to keep him nice and topped up. And the Lion Chariots still on 3 models and 3 models. Despite the huge HP we damaged to them, we weren't actually able to kill a model, which is devastating for us, because now they can be healed up. And our Blow of Death is now just moving over to the Spearmen. I just want to get them off the field as quickly as possible, keep my mighty fist of an army together, and beat the living snot out of any health princeling which does decide to come after us. Now, the Spearmen are terrified. I do not blame them. Lion Chariots are going to swarm in, but there is so many skinks here and Saurus, they can't really push through very effectively, and they flee like cowardly Elgi. More Lion Chariots do start to come in. These ones are full health. The Shredder, though, takes a big old snap out of them, and in comes the double Arcane Phoenix, looking to finish off the Shredder. We pop Supreme Shield of the Old Ones, giving us that massive 40% magic resistance, and go to work here on the single entities. Now, this is a horrible blob fight, but I love it. Let's get a nice big swoop in. You can see the Kai's going after chariots right now, as the Shredder fights the giant fiery pigeons of doom with the help of the Rev Crystal and Lord Kroak getting down and dirty. Look at him trying to smite them as he summons his ethereal form to bring pain and devastation. We do drop yet another Lord Kroak bomb on the back here on these Shadow Warriors, who don't move out the way this time, using up some of the last of their ammunition, and we get some pretty decent work done into the bag. Shred of Luster is looking very low right now, down to 1,800 HP, though the chariots, due to that negative effect of the Shredder, are starting to break very quickly. This unit of line chariots is shattered. We've gone for a leadership D-bomb there, coming in with Miasma of Despair, lowering their leadership, plus the Dreaded Aversion can do some quite nasty work. Now, we get a Rev Crystal down on the Shredder of Lustria. Cold-Blooded is active as well, and he does juke the last volleys there from the Shadow Warriors, which is certainly very nice for me. It's contemplating pushing forward with these units of Skinks and Saurus to try to push back the Shadow Warriors. I realise we're probably just going to get jumped by the Arcane Phoenixes. So instead, I'm going to try to move my two units together and keep as close as possible. We do have some Spearmen coming in to try to finish off the Shredder, who is getting danger low at the moment. But I'm going to be leaving the Rev Crystal back here to deal with them as we push forward with the majority of our forces. Now, the Mighty Nakai is dancing, trying to chase the Lion Chariots. They do, unfortunately, come out of his class this time. Arcane Phoenixes doing their lovely little air effect spell there to really cleave through a lot of my my Saurus Warriors. Now the Shredder's a little bit isolated. This is bad on my behalf, and the Kai's not nearby, neither is Lord Kroak. So he is fighting alone right now, down to 950 HP, but the Rev Crystal says, "No siree, not today, you are not alone my friend," and comes in to ram one of the Arcane Phoenixes right up the bum. Unfortunately, the Shred of Luster is broken at this point, down to just 270 HP. If we can bring it back, though, if we can pin these single entities in place, there's a good chance we can Rev Crystal him up a little bit more. He's down to 27 HP right now, though, which isn't looking too good. I'm trying to pin in Alarielle. She's been a slippery devil, though, and constantly escaping my grasps. Nakai gets in there and just starts bam, 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 slapping her up, and she flees before the might of the Wanderer. Unfortunately, a very sad day. The Shred of Lustria does bite the bullet there and is down dead on the ground. And that's a big problem. He was our main answer to single entities. And you can see I've once again kind of bunched up way too much here. Getting lovely damage there from the Arcane Phoenix. But my might really does come by staying close together and popping these Primeval Roars and Shield of the Old Ones at the same time. Turning this Bastiladon into a weapon of mass destruction. 64 melee attack. Nakai coming in, slapping cheeks. Going after that Lion Chariot. Miasma of Despair goes down, and Lord Kroak is standing firm next to his Bastiladon brother. You can see we're actually healing up, I believe, Nakai maybe, with these Rev Crystals now that the Mighty Shredder has indeed bitten the dust. Shadow Warriors are starting to swarm in, and the battle is simmering nicely in the later stages of the game as we are slowly grinding through the infantry of the High Elves. You can see Spearmen running for their life, Lion Chariots. They don't want to mess with Nakai. Nakai, much like Wutan, ain't nothing to F with. And the Shadow Warriors are about to receive a nasty delivery from the mighty Lord Kroak. Now, good play by my opponent trying to isolate this Rev Crystal, realising it could be a big pain in the later stages of the game with its healing properties. The Nakai the Wanderer comes over here to drive away the pigeons, pushes them back up into the sky once more. Now, Nakai gets the Rev Crystal as my opponent tries to snipe him, so that's really lucky timing by me, trying to keep Nakai in the fight as long as possible as he beats back the enemy single entities. Everything on my opponent's build is just running right now. He only really has the single entities left. Skink cohorts will be pushing in to engage and try to surround them. You can see they're desperately fighting on now, completely surrounded by Saurus Warriors, and Lord Kroak actually hits relatively hard right now. You see one of the Phoenixes is going to try to get back up in the air, so I'm just going to take this opportunity to jump the next one and keep on hunting them where possible. Man, Nakai is a beast. He's taking this game by the scruff of its neck. He doesn't care that he's surrounded by three single entities. He is the danger, and he is doing a fantastic job right now. In comes the the Revivification Crystal, my god, such a mouthful, and Lord Kroak looking to support their boy. The Skink Cults are doing an okay job as well, alongside the Saurus Warriors. It's kind of a miracle they're still alive right now. They are coming in with that perfect vigor because of Nakai, though, and fighting alongside the venerable Lord Kroak is probably encouraging them to greater feats of heroism. Another effect there from the Arcane Phoenix. I can't remember what that's called. It's basically like their little flame storm. What's it called? Ember Storm. There we go. Comes down and clears out a lot of my chaff. I think it probably does friendly fire as well. I need to double check that. But yeah, I think some of the Shadow Warriors were caught there as well. And my infantry does abandon me, which is really bad news as Nakai is being hunted. But that Primeval Roar comes in. We have massive melee attack potential. Even Lord Kroak has 66 melee attack and snaps his fingers, Thanos style. One of the Arcane Phoenixes bites the dust. and we're now hunting the next one. It was 3 single entities on 3 single entities. 1 down, 2 to go. Arcane Phoenix is chevroned up quite nicely, but we are slapping him down now. Nakai getting very low, does get a cold-blooded popped on him, and also a Rev Crystal actually goes down on Lord Kroak because I want to continue to give that negative melee attack to Alariel. Only 35 melee attack now, nowhere near as enough kind of punch to deal with Nakai the Wanderer, and the dreaded Kroak Nakai Shredder build does win this tournament game for the Lizardmen today. Well played to Charax. He's a really outstanding player, and I'm actually much more used to him playing that kite style of play, but this is a very popular way of playing High Elves against Lizardmen right now. Triple Charax, Alariel, double single entities, just heal them up, and cycle charge the enemy to death. But what can men do against such a reckless Lord Kroak play? Not too much, it would seem. Well played, very close once more, and as I said before, Charax is an absolute champ. You've seen him in my one build Battle Royale tournament, and probably in my Death Before Dishonors, but today was a day for Nakai. And I love this build so much, I actually just instantly picked it straight away into my next tournament game in this, and did lose it, but it was against a faction you shouldn't bring this against. I can't remember what it was, but it's a very fun build. I recommend it. It's very silly, very stupid, but it's a bucket fun of fun to play, and honestly not terrible up against this high elf style of play, because the Shredder can kill all the chariots, Lord Kroak nukes all their stats, Nakai buffs all your own ones to counteract Frostheart Phoenix play. It can certainly get the job done, and we did manage to take all that damage from the Shadow Warriors and still get some good work done from the Shredder of Lustria. So we're going to check his damage value now. Oh my god, that's juicy. 3,972 damage value on him, 3.3k on Nakai, as well as 3.4 on Lord Kroak. Absolutely insane stuff. We'll delve into all that in a second though, damage dealt, damage value, and kills. But before that, if you guys enjoyed this video and want to see more of this in the future, make sure to leave a big old fat juicy thumbs up, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you thought of this glorious build. There are links down below in the description to my Twitch channel where I do additional streams. We've been calling off on them for the last week or so, but it's because I've been away for my birthday and stuff. I'll be getting back to those a bit more next week. We have links down below as well to my Discord where you can submit replays to me, get involved in tournaments, live streams, and there's a load of other links on how you can support the channel via Patreon and so forth down there below. So let's hop into this. The Mighty Nakai, 18 kills, 3,309 damage value, 9.8k damage dealt, and those buffs, the Perfect Vigor, the Miasma of Despair, the Glorious Primeval Roar helped our build so much. And though Nakai isn't incredible, he is relatively decent in box builds. That's about it. Box builds not very popular at the moment due to how very, very powerful skirmishes and mass kind of range, particularly against the Lizardmen. So it's unlikely you'll find yourself in a situation where you can use him, but High Elves is certainly a gamble. Because this style of play is so good, he's not actually that terrible against it. Lord Kroak, 3,457 damage value is absolutely absurd, considering he basically had no infantry to nuke. His big deliverances of Itza do very little damage to single entities and chariots, so the majority of that value came in combat. And the reason he was able to get so much of that damage dealt is because he was being buffed by the Primeval Roar to give him a decent melee attack, and he hits relatively hard, as all Slans do. It's just they normally struggle to hit and defend themselves. But 86 kills, over 14k damage dealt, killed a decent amount of the infantry, but also did a load of work to those single entities. So the Skinks suffered, which was kind of their job today. 100 damage value, 140, 74, 161, 118. Saurus fared a bit better with 900 damage value and 720, but the infantry was here to absorb damage, annoy the enemy. If he did go mass range, which is where you can do it, they can swarm, but really here to support the large dinos. The Rev Crystal did a fantastic job, 1,274 damage value, not quite getting through all its casts of its heals, unfortunately, but getting through a decent chunk of them. The Shredder of Lustria, the regiment renowned Dread Saurian, the king of the Lustrian jungle, 49 kills, over 14k damage dealt, 3,972 damage value. Beautiful work there. And just for anyone wondering, this is a legal build, because though these guys look like they'd be single entity monsters, they're single entities, and these are the monsters here, and you're allowed 5 of them overall, and triple single entity monsters. So it's a fun build. Feel free to take it in tournaments. I'm not promising you it will work. If your opponent goes mass range, like a lot of high elf players do, then you could be in trouble. But particularly I've noticed RTK really loved this build as a clan, so if you're coming up against any of them, try something like this out. It can maybe catch them off guard a little bit and do you some wonders. Lara the Radiant, only 669 damage value. Some nice heals, good use of the Star of Avalon. And I quite like the pick here from Chags of the Shield of Thorns. Spearman didn't do much. Shadow Warriors did amazing. Of course, as you'd expect, they used all their ammo up on a Dread Saurian. 1,540 damage value and 1,621 is very good work. Lion Chat's got just slammed, to be honest, by the Shredder. 670 damage value, 650 and 1,200. This unit doing really good, 123 kills and surviving to the later stages of the game. The other two just getting hit really early on by the Primeval Roar combination with the Shredder. Arcane Phoenixes, I must admit, I didn't play this game fantastically. Like, we bunched up quite a bit, and that allowed them to do some really lovely damage. But Chag saw the opportunity and bam, snapped at it. 172 and 101 kills. They were some of his biggest damage dealers today, with 1.6k damage value, as well as 2,117. Just shy of 12k damage dealt on both units. Fantastic game. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Until next time, peace, peace. And as always, stay awesome.